All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of our September Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Today, of course, we have Sam back on camera with us, Renee, and we're bringing in Coach Linnell, a life coach, to help us with some different viewpoints on the topics of this with cannabis and the experience she's had. So, welcome everybody this morning. Start off,
Good
Renee. How
morning,
was your week?
everybody.
Good
Yes, good
morning. Good
morning.
morning.
How's your week, Renee?
Good week. Good week. Busy week. Busy week. Definitely an ebbs and flows week. So I'll definitely have some good personal firsthand stories to share with just dealing with the stress of it all, right?
Nah, I think everybody needs to know.
Yep,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely. Sam, how was your week?
Oh my gosh, the week is ran into another week and going on into another week. So busy. So
Right. I've
busy,
only
but I love
noticed
it
that.
though.
Right. I've only noticed that only happens on the days that end in Y. So don't worry about that.
Most definitely.
Coach Linnell, welcome. How was your week
Thank-
this?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. This week, like Renee, has had many ebbs and flows. Thankful for some tools I have to help me maintain uh, some stability in the wave of things that's occurring. So,
Absolutely. Well, one thing we were going to start on this morning is some actually very, very good news. The rollout of the 9800 number, which we have scrolling down there, and those who aren't familiar with it, it's a suicide prevention now hotline and a text number.
Mm-hmm.
They just rolled that out, and a stat they've showed saying that they may have saved more than 150,000 more lives in 1 month than before this transition.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic.
Yep, for sure.
I'd love to see what they thought the stats were when their plan was, but for those numbers initially, and programs like this and people sharing it is what's helping. So it is helping people.
It is. I want to add to that, Nate. When people need an ear, and sometimes the biggest friends, the biggest supporter is not available for them. They just need somebody to talk to. So that text line is probably one of the greatest things that have happened just to the people whose lives are being affected right now as we speak, who need the help past those tough moments in life. Everybody have them. No one is immune or impervious to having a bad day. So,
Right.
Hey, look at that line. If you have a problem, text that number.
Absolutely, because the Department of Health and Human Service released data showing that it's actually up by 45% over last August.
Oh man, yeah.
That big numbers, representing 152,000 more contacts that include calls, chats, and text. So there's so many different ways now. Instead of just calling and sitting on the phone, you can have a text conversation in the moment where you are. This text line, for example, what if somebody was in their car out in the middle of a field? Maybe they didn't have the opportunity to reach out to someone. Now they can.
It's tough. I got a story to tell. I have a very, very great friend, Morehouse brother of mine, who committed suicide. Young man who he was a public servant. His life and background, he came up in an orphanage, and he got himself into Morehouse. Very, very tremendous task of the life that he walked, and then gave himself to be a public servant. And in those moments in his life as he got older, he got acknowledged by Oprah Winfrey on her show, which is tremendous. Like, wow. Man, bro, you made Oprah. But in his life, there were some things that were very overwhelming for him. Issues with his sister, who and his sister, I guess, had a drug addiction, and she had a young child, and that child got left in his possession, and it changed his life a lot. The stresses of life were really tough on him, and one of the things that he used to do as an outlet, he used to take young men to a retreat in the mountains. And one weekend he went up to the mountains by himself, and he actually committed suicide.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, those are those moments as a healer or therapist or counselor, when you want to help everyone in the world and you don't have anyone to call on to discuss what you're experiencing. And it's so important that therapists, counselors, coaches like myself seek that outside support. Because from a spiritual perspective, which is what I focus on, you take in all the energy, and which some of that is lower frequency, depression, anxiety, stresses, and a lot of people don't know how to release it from
Mm.
their spirit. So it affects their mind, and they have all these thoughts and feelings that are not theirs, but they're theirs because it's sitting within their field of energy. And that is where the struggle is coming for people in this space that are always extending themselves to help others.
Linnell, let me ask you a question. When you talk about the field of energy, is that something where you've came in contact with a negative person? Are you speaking on those end, or is that just a negative circumstance? What do you mean by field of energy?
So it's a frequency, right? So it's I don't consider things good or bad. There's low vibrations and high vibrations.
Okay.
So in a low vibration space, that's where depression, anxiety, stress, and things of those nature, they live in that low vibration space. You're tired, very fatigued, unmotivated, sad, it kind of, or angry, extreme anger, and those are all in low vibration spaces. So when for me, when I have a session with someone who has those type of frequencies, I have to do a clearing after, because when you open yourself up as a practitioner to help assist in someone's healing, basically you're transitioning their energy through yours to help clear it. And what happens is, if you don't know how to move that energy out, which a lot of therapists, psychologists, and doctors in that space aren't focused in on the spiritual side of it all, so they take it all in and they take it home, either back to their family or into their own space where it affects them drastically.
Wow. Wow.
Um, so other words, we're basically saying protect your heart, protect your spirit, because I mean, sometimes you can take on a heavy load from one discussion with someone.
Exactly. It is literally that simple. We're universally one from a spiritual space, spirit first, physical second, which is physical is temporary. This spirit is infinite. So it's powerful enough to take in all the things you want and all the things you don't want at the same time. It's not measured. The universe doesn't look at it as good or bad. It's just a frequency and vibration that you pull into yourself. And then what happens is, once you pull that in, now you have a series of experiences because it's in your auric field. So now who you are is what you attract. So then you attract additional low frequency experiences, and people are trying to understand why that's happening. That is the cause of that. So I always advise any practitioners or doctors that I interact with that they get some spiritual training and tools to learn how to clear themselves after an intense session with the client.
And then another question. So for people who are in an unfortunate situation where they're a product of their environment, they're born into a set of instabilities, whether it may be parents that may be, alcohol abuse. One parent may just work too much, or don't feel well. For those that's listening, what would be your suggestion to get in, I guess, a good balance, a good feel?
Well, it's funny you brought this up. I had a conversation with someone the other day that was having a challenge with their son, who had a very stable home, great environment, kind of balanced life, as we would say. and he was acting out and basically having responses that you would get from I remember a story about a young man who lived in a homeless shelter his entire high school years, and became a straight A student and was able to obtain a full ride to college. Um, it's not, it truly, the environment is not what causes it, it's what you receive as truth. If you believe this environment that you in is the environment, the only environment that you'll ever be in, that you'll never get out, whatever you speak out upon yourself is what actually activates in your world. It is truly that powerful and that simple. Um, it doesn't matter what environment you're in. People come out of those environments and thrive and do better than people that have had kind of the best balance of maybe two parents and they had family dinners every night and all the bells and whistles that people feel provide a balanced familial environment. And some of those children still go in a different direction. And those who don't have it, it's a power of the mind. It's your thoughts manifest into your world. Even in the worst environments, you sit back and say to yourself, this is temporary. I believe and see my life in a different view, and I know it will come to be. And you stick to that. And the universe kind of sends you small hints or people into your space to help move you in that direction that you know and trust and believe that you'll go. And it's a process, it doesn't happen
Mhm.
overnight. But if you pay attention and open up your awareness, you'll see small things. Something will pop up on the TV, you'll get an email random about some event or something that can connect you to some people that'll be supportive, and then it's up to you to continue to take that initiative to move forward. And though that's for people who don't have extreme mental health problems on top of an environmental problem, that's a different case. They would need to seek assistance from a psychologist or psychiatrist on top of getting their thoughts in order for that. But for those who are not experiencing that and just in a place where they want to see their growth or they feel like they're stuck, kind of that hamster wheel experience, it's really, I'm not on this hamster wheel. I'm growing. My path is heading in the right direction. Today, I'm going to do two things to bring myself closer to where I want to be.
And now I
Right.
want to add a story. I'm sorry, Nate.
No, good.
On social media, it showed a parent who had endured one of the most horrific circumstances I've ever seen in life. She had a 12-year-old son who literally she disciplined by taking his iPhone, and he totally destroyed the home. When I say totally
Yeah, I
destroyed the
saw
home.
that. I saw that video.
Oh my gosh.
It definitely
Wow.
hurt my heart seeing
Wow.
something like that. I mean, from the mirrors to TVs to the counter, the toy. I mean, it that's a level, like I mentioned, extreme mental health problems. This
Mhm.
young man obviously has them. We know there's an extreme attachment to these devices for the younger generation. That's just their whole world revolves around that. Sometimes parents give their children a phone at 1 years old, so they can watch videos on YouTube. So
Mhm.
it's trained into their world. It's like they need it like water and food. That's how intense
Mhm.
it is for some of these children. And for a child who has mental health issues already, has no control over his anger, he just lashed out. And I have to assume that he's had some previous incidents, and maybe the mother didn't address it or seek the assistance for her son. And this was like the ultimate extreme experience for him. I saw that video and I was wondering, where is he? I'm hoping he's not in juvenile, because that's not gonna help him.
Right.
Um, he needs some psychological or psychiatric assistance to understand what's going on with him and what would make him lash out to that extreme. So my heart goes out to that mom.
Good Lord, she needed.
Right.
Renee, what do you feel? You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I actually have a dear family member who is dealing with just that situation with the child. It's an adult child, but because and unfortunately we think we can love it away, we can pray it away, especially I'll say in the Black and brown communities, right? We didn't, and you have the challenge where getting any type of help is considered a weakness, right? So just changing that narrative is such a monumental task, if you will. Shout out to a client. We've done some business together, and someone I certainly would consider a friend. Warwick Dunn has recently started speaking out really publicly about mental health and intentionally. And hey, that's a sign of strength if you can identify and I don't even want to say weaknesses, just the areas that you're challenged in, the areas that you may not be a subject matter expert. And I think it goes along. I think we talked last week about a little bit about that new mindset where you're self-made and you're doing everything on your own. And that's just not it. I always challenge people, find one success story where they didn't get anyone's help, where they did it all on their own, be it Sam Walton, be it, I'm watching the Steve Jobs story, Oprah Winfrey, you can name it, right? All of those people had coaches and mentors and people that they could lean on as they grew. And when they didn't, they kirked out. Steve Jobs kirked out a few times before he got it right. You know what I mean? And so that being all of those things being said, I think that we have got to be really, really, those of us who do get it. And when I say get it, understand the importance and the value of, a good support system, be it counselor, be it life coach, whatever term that is, right? But there's nothing wrong with getting some professional help. There's good things, it's helping you be the best, well-rounded person you can be. My loved one has in the last week mentioned suicide, typed that word twice in some social media. I'm concerned, right? And he's talking about he's not going to do it, but damn it, why are you talking about it so much, right? Why is that word? Why do you keep going to that terminology? So I'm dealing with that right now. So certainly a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. And, it's like, how we handling this? And yeah, so everything, I just, appreciate Linnell's perspective from the professional side, because as I'm going to say a consumer or a client, it's needed. It's needed.
Nate, what's your sentiments?
Well, I was gonna say, Warwick Dunn, what an amazing story. That man, if you haven't seen where he came from and what's happened to him in his life, look that up. I mean, not only the stuff he's done in the community to help people, homes, habitats, all that stuff, a humble man, but he had his life just turned upside down, and that's not even the depth of it. That's a gentle way of putting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've never met the individual myself, but just admired him from afar, from his playing to even beyond his NFL and college. Just an amazing man. But a couple of things on that. One, suicide is the country's leading cause of death for individuals 10 to 34. And that's an age. That's not male, female,
right,
racial demographic. That's the age. And that goes in with what all of y'all have been saying. And a couple of bright sides, though, the Biden administration will allocate another $150 million to the 9-800 number, because they've already seen that it's gone from 2.5 minutes wait to 42 seconds. That's huge. In that extra time, we're reaching more people because we're limiting the time that they're on hold or waiting for help. And they want to do another $35 million in grants to better support tribal communities, because they're actually showing now that individuals in the Alaskan Native people or Native Americans, they are disproportionately affected by suicide, surpassing rates of all the other racial and ethnical groups. So
You know, Nate, just to add on to that one fact, and I think between Native American and for brown and black and African American people, we have suffered a tremendous circumstance. And I know in those communities, the Native American communities, they have a large number of liquor stores that they license, that the powers that be license and put in those areas to add on to just soaking and whatever circumstances that is on their hearts, on their minds, that they live with on a daily. And I think just for us to talk about it in this show segment for this month. OG always said that Suicide Month is every month. It should be every month and not just one month, because this is something that we all struggle with. We all have a moment where it's just not going right, and I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. And we got to get past that moment, because we got to realize that beyond that moment, we have people that still love us, for the ones that do have the love and the support system in place. For the people who do have all the love and the support system in place, for whatever reason, they're rejecting it. So, we definitely have to send good vibes and positive spirits out to those individuals, because they need it too. It's either misreceived or misunderstood. So they definitely need that.
Oh, absolutely. Because in the article that I was reading, it even talks about how mental health must be destigmatized, and access increased to all people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we've discussed it in multiple segments, whether it be the cannabis or mental health, there's still that stigma. You're not supposed to ask for help, individuals and women too. But, men have been talked about many times. You don't show emotion. You don't show that you're weak. You just say, I'm okay. I'm fine.
And then, people use that as a weakness as well. And they will, I think OG said in the last show where he had a friend whose brother had suicidal thoughts. And his brother had mentioned to him, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts. And his older brother was like, well, go do it. Go do it. Matter of fact, I got the gun. Go do it. And that next day, he committed suicide. And the great regret that we deal with today from saying insensitive things or things that are not thought out, it can really come back to haunt you,
Well, unfortunately, we never know what might be our last word to someone.
Yeah.
Did we leave it positive? Did we leave them in a mindset to where we didn't encourage them, but we pushed them towards what was already in their mind, especially if we don't know where their mind is?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to lead with love. And I know that's hard for people to do, like you're in traffic or you have a coworker that's getting on your nerves or a family member that's bothering you. If you can do your best to lead with love, all that does is multiply. Right. And you don't want the last words and the last discussion to be something so negative and disturbing. And the next thing you know, that person is gone and now you're going through it because they've now taken their life, and the last conversation you had with them kind of declined that even a little bit more rapidly. You may have been the only person they had to reach out to, and the conversation just didn't go well. And all that did was, again, give more low vibrational energy to a low vibrational space. And if they would have gotten a little bit of a boost, they might have been here one more day, 24 more hours.
Right. And like you're saying, you might be the individual that they were looking forward to give them encouragement or that word. And then all of a sudden they felt, even the only person I trust has now pushed me away. I really do have nothing.
Exactly.
That's big. That's all right there. Just saying that and then feeling a form of emptiness. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So my hearts definitely go out to them. Renee, just in some of our discussions that we had in those isolated moments, we've talked about, using cannabis passively to relax and just even yourself out. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I'm a cheerleader and champion for that. I mean, seriously though, as recently as last night, I have 2 major projects out, bids for projects out. And both of the clients are dragging their feet. And I'm trying to tell them, yo, the closer we get to your execution dates, the harder you make my job, which is gonna make it, you want these discounts, but I've got to consider myself, the energy that I've got to put into it, and for my team that I have to bring in. And so it was one of those anxious moments last night, because I'm talking with an executive director who just doesn't get event planning. And they're like, oh, well, we'll do it next week. I said, I won't do this project next week. You know what I mean? And having to get to that point that you're turning down checks, right? But I can't, at the end of the day, I also can't set myself up for failure. And before I got too, I'm going to say, elevated and amped up and worked up about it, okay, let me take it down a notch, right? Let me, and I tell people, it's funny, as I talk to people and try to be an educator, if you will, in this space, especially from a consumption perspective, just even understanding what you're consuming, right? Because there are different strains that are going to do different things for you. And hey, I still need to be productive, but I got to take this edge off. I need to be able to settle down, think through one thing instead of trying to tackle all 50 things in my head, right? And just systematically start working those things out. So I slept amazing last night. I've tried to start dividing my days and creating more structure and routine in my days. And I was able to, even after having that late conversation that had me amped up, settle down enough that I was able to do some of that quiet work that I need to be able to do in the evenings when the phone starts ringing. So, I just encourage people that as they, continue on what I call this can of journey, that they do that intelligently and that they do that thoughtfully. Certainly, we have, socially medicated ourselves for years. We'll do that and we'll sit around and consume collectively, right? And that may be where we bounce our ideas and our problems off. But when you don't have those opportunities and you're doing that alone, it's not that you're, I'm going to use the term junkie because that's what it comes to my head, but it's not that you're abusing it. It's about, you got to know when you need your medication. When you when you need a Tylenol, you don't wait until everybody's around or you don't ask permission, but it's because hey, I take one of these or whatever, right? So as we start getting used to medicating ourselves naturally, right, and healing ourselves naturally, then we've got to we've got to take that just as seriously as we do reading those instructions on the back of a bottle.
Sounds good.
Right. Renee, I was going to ask you to expound a little bit before we go to the next story, but if you were not able to use the cannabis and all these different things, even stuff that's out of your control, for example, like you said with the event, some of that you've got control over, some of it is out of your hands.
Right.
As you get to deadlines, as you get those feelings, anxiety, whatever it might be, if you're not able to have the cannabis, where do you think that would put you in a mindset?
So I will tell you that cannabis for me isn't a single source solution. Right. I think I've started incorporating a lot of things. It's going out on my deck and just tuning out the noise. I don't go out there with my phones. I go out there with my bottle of water and a notepad. It's walking around the block. It's disconnecting from whatever that stressor is. And so it's all part of a wellness program. You can't, I definitely don't ever want people to think, oh, just, swing from the chandeliers, jump off the roof and smoke some cannabis and you'll be fine. It doesn't work like that. There's nothing that one thing, but it's got to be a part of a program. And if it's, hey, let me slow down my thoughts just enough so I can work them out, map them out, put some processes in place and safeguard myself. I'm safeguarding myself. I don't like when I start getting all hot inside and, you can feel yourself tensing up and I'm not doing that anymore. That's taking people out real quickly. So,
all right.
I ended that call with this executive director who was frazzled. I said, hey, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have fun at this event. We're going to do what needs to happen. And the client will be happy. And that's what matters for us, And so being able to pull back enough, talking to her to be able to make her comfortable, and then hey, let me get comfortable too. Like Linnell said, we take in those things. I recently had an aura reading, and they did some oral photography, but I was told that I carry people's energies with me because I interact with so many people. I also really carry people's energy with me. So I have been careful to, when I'm in large groups for extended periods of time, you may not see me for a couple of days because I need to clear, like Linnell said. I mean, I'm literally getting to implement a lot of the things that Linnell has said. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's working for me. I've got to clear my aura. I've got to, because I'm carrying all of that. And I've gotten comfortable telling people, hey, I can't take that in today. Somebody texted me yesterday, and it was nothing positive about the text message. And I finally had to say, dude, your messy boots are showing. Like, what is the purpose of this conversation? You brought me this information for what? It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't help me in my business. It doesn't. So help me understand what was the purpose. Kill the conversation, but you carry that mess. I'm not carrying that mess today. You know what I mean? So those types of things, we have got to protect our peace.
That's so true, Renee. that step you took and shutting it down, you truly exercise your power in that moment. Because if you would have took in that text, that communication, now that would be sitting in your aura, but basically you blocked it so that it didn't enter your field. And that's where the power comes in. We have the right to say no. We have the right to say not now.
That is a growth for me. I don't want anybody to think that I have all the answers. I am growing, and I just want to share my journey as I'm growing, because hopefully if it, you know, guys, like we talk about, if it helps one person, oh, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't have to go to the extreme of, you know, ending my life. Hey, let me disconnect from this. And it's okay to disconnect. You don't always have to be available, you know? People believe because we have all these electronic devices. I'm literally sitting in front of 3 screens right now, right? But I control these. They don't control me, right? I can turn these off and be done. You know, Nate, yesterday, I'm not a huge texter. Well, Nate fires off, and finally I was like, hey, Nate, I can't take in any more texting. And I believe that Nate knows no harm, no foul, right?
Right.
That texting, because I'll lose something. I am the world's worst texter. And so just those little things, you deserve, you have every right to say, hey, this is the communication that works for me. You know what I'm saying? And not that all relationships aren't give and take. I'm going to text with Nate sometimes because I know that's what works for Nate, right? And because of our relationship, there's going to be a give and take. But then sometimes I'm going to have to say, hey, I can't do this anymore. If we can't talk, let's park it until we can, right? And having people in your circle that respect your boundaries, you know? I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you.
Clarity. You spoke some clarity on that one.
Right. And at the same point, it's important for, like, for example, I understood your mindset. So I was like, okay, hold on. No big deal.
Right.
No harm, no foul, so to speak. But unfortunately, so many times when we don't know the individual, we send a message and their mind is different than what the message was intended.
Right. Right.
So sometimes some people just go off the deep end and like, well, and then they fire back a response. And now you've got 2 bouncing off each other when that was not the case. So, you know,
texting can be terminal. Good Lord.
Absolutely. You know, like I said, I get your mindset,
too fast, out of context,
right?
Not doing the spell check, and then even when the spell check put the wrong word.
Oh my God!
There's a whole
and that's the thing. Don't you just ducking hate that?
Right.
Right. I gotta add to it. I on a text sometimes I'll look at it. I hate responding to certain texts. I'd rather talk on the phone because I can say specifically what I need to say and be finished. And then if I need to hear what I need to say, then I'll take that moment and listen, and then I'll be finished. But texting in the moment, when you get a little angry, you might be in a rush and you're texting too fast, and the words in your mind and the words from your finger don't come together.
Right.
And
Oh
you
my
can leave
goodness.
out
Yes.
you can leave out so many words that, and for whatever reason, when it comes out, it looks like you said something totally different than what you text, and you have to go back and look at it and be like, "Oh no," So,
Right.
Yeah. And that's a space where people have to give each other grace and
Yeah.
not be reactive. So reactive is read the message, fill the fill in, type a return. Responsive is read the message, read it again, sit back a second, evaluate who you're communicating with. If you know this person and something's coming across different, give them some grace and say, hey, maybe we could chat about this later. If whether you understand the message or not, now's not a
Right.
good time for me to talk about it. Let's talk this evening. Do you have some time this evening we can get on a phone call? That's giving
Right.
someone grace. And
Yeah.
that's it's protecting you at the same time, because that
Yeah.
reaction, you're shooting out energy, low vibrational energy, in the direction of someone, and it's depleting you at the same time.
oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, Linnell, you hit that out the park.
I
Oh
mean,
my
nail
god.
on head, right?
Oh my
On
gosh.
head.
Yeah, I went through something like that a couple of weeks ago with someone I was very, very close with and didn't know how to take it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we all have our various ways of looking at things. And within that moment, sometimes you still don't even know. And to this day I still haven't talked to the person. And it's just I sent the message to reinforce support and love, and it still wasn't received that way. So it's like, what do you do? So I think for everyone that goes through that, grace is one thing, but you also have to learn how to move on too as well.
Right.
Sometimes,
Right.
sometimes we meet people in our lives, and they're only there for a season, and that was the
Yep.
reason that they were there.
Yep.
You got lifelong friends. You have some people that come in your lives, and they may nudge you in a different direction than what you need to be going, or they may nudge you into the right direction that you need to be
Yep.
going.
Yep.
So, we have to always constantly evaluate who we're in contact with and what we're doing. I think just for myself, I am a very purpose-driven person. Um,
Oh.
Yeah, we have a slight communication there. There we go.
It's you, Doc.
Well, while we're holding
Well,
on him for a second, I was going to say another thing too is social media. Sometimes somebody
Yeah.
makes a post and you understand how you two are, but if you just put a generic comment, other people are going to take it the other way and they're just going to now jump on that.
Right.
So sometimes that direct message with them about the comment is much easier than posting it on Facebook or wherever, because you two might understand it, but the other 40 may not.
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
Clear communication is so important in that space, just like Sam was mentioning about that interaction. It's like both people may have been going through something, and then you talk
Right.
to each other, and then now you're taking out the thing that you were going through anyway into that
Mm-hmm.
issue,
Mm-hmm.
that or lack of communication or miscommunication, and it just blows up. And it still requires you to give grace, even though we feel like some people are here, reason, season, lifetime. We know that's true in our lives.
Right.
It's been true in my own life. I've had someone not speak to me based on something they thought they knew, but never gave me the opportunity to have a conversation so that they can understand what was actually occurring. And that's their choice, right? But it did bother me because it's like, no, we're actually friends. Like, no, you could come to me to
Mm-hmm.
talk to me at any point in time about anything, good, bad, or indifferent. But that person chose, I would say, an unhealthy way to deal in any kind of relationship. I'm just going to shut down and not communicate. And that's just no way to grow yourself or grow your relationships. You create space for people so that they can say how they feel, and you listen to understand and not listen to respond. Like, just listen to what people are saying and give them a moment, and then reply, because sometimes it's not what it's meant, whether it's verbally or via text. But Sam, I think you're back on. You want to finish where you were starting?
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I had my phone on do not disturb, but a call was coming in. But I think for when we're trying to live the lives in the moment that we live, all I just ask is to have a mindset of clarity and peace. If you're not at peace in anything that you do, all I ask is take time to know your purpose. Why are you here? You're here because you are a blessing in this world. You are here because you were meant to teach and inspire somebody. You were here to be a story that people can learn from at the same time. So always know that you are a source of inspiration to someone. You may not feel it in yourself, but you are. You have someone that looks at you, they know you and say, "Hey, I like that person." And you have to take it for what it is. In this time of social media, just ask everyone to look at it totally different. Social acceptance, I think, is probably a big killer. Trying to have acceptance from someone who's a total stranger, someone that you don't know, and just trying to be something that you're possibly not. Just goes back to a conversation we had about a young lady who took her life recently, and I think her boyfriend was a celebrity or famous, and she was just not happy leading a fictitious life. And we all have to walk not only in the faith that we were born in, but we have to find and know what our purpose is so that way we can live that life and be the source of inspiration from one person to the next. I spent a lot of time talking with everybody that's on live with us now, with Nate. And we have circumstances that we throw at each other every day. And sometimes we just have to be an ear for that friend when they're just trying to get what off of their mind or off of their chest, because we all have a struggle. We all have a moment. Everybody has a moment. And the worst thing that you can possibly go through is when somebody's sick or when somebody's hurt and they're going through a moment and they're grabbing you and they're scratching at you and pulling you, off balance, and maybe possibly making things uneasy for you. Just remember that you need to be just as strong as for yourself for the people that's around you. So be that ear, sometimes be that shoulder that they need, because that'll get you past those moments.
Yeah,
That's it.
take
You're
that step
absolutely
back.
right. For sure. Because I've got a very close friend of mine who, about a year and a half ago, I guess, he just about lost everything he had from his job, relationship, you name it. And he literally told me, I don't know what I'm going to do if something doesn't happen by this point. And I stopped for a minute and looked at him. I said, the biggest problem is right now, he was looking at a table and he looked at the quarter that was sitting on the table, not the entire table. The rest of the table was great, from his family to his friends, the opportunities he had, but he was focused on this one little piece. And I asked him just to step back for a minute, look at the rest and see where you want to go, what chances you have. And now he has his dream job almost 2 years later. But in that moment, yes, that was hard. And we all have those moments.
Absolutely.
And whatever happened is important in our life. And it should be. It should be. But there's always something bigger, something greater. And as much as we sometimes don't stop and look, guess what? There are people who have it worse than us. We are blessed even in those hard times.
Yeah. Balance is something that sometimes elude us. If we're standing on one leg, we can lose our balance a lot faster than standing on two. One of the things I would like to say to everybody that's listening and everyone who will be listening to this is that please have great balance. Stand strong on your own 2 feet. Stand so that way you can take on pressure, because you're going to get pressure at some point in time in this world. You're going to get pushed off of balance, whether you want it to or not. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You have to deal with that. You can be at the right place at the right time and lose your balance as well. So you wanna have a good foundation and a good source. And between Coach Linnell, just talking about having a routine to give you that balance, and then even with Renee personally, you should develop a routine that gives you that balance. So sometimes you may need to seek a professional outside of just taking, hey, I'm gonna sit back and relax and do this. But remember, educating yourself on all matters at hand is the best way to be in balance. Is to know more, to do more.
Right. And I was going to say, this is something to talk on for a moment here, and we'll get everybody's opinion on this and their thoughts, because even the people who help you, sometimes they need help as well. Physicians have the highest suicide rate of the general population of anybody right now.
Who does?
Physicians,
Physicians.
Physicians. Oh, wow.
medical doctors. Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of pressure on them right now. I mean,
Well, and that's
12-hour days.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you put your heart and soul into helping someone
Mhm.
and they pass away. I mean, that got to be a horrible feeling and experience to go through day after day.
Right. Misdiagnosis,
Yeah.
wrongful lawsuits, the stigma of losing their job, how they would, help their family if they lost their job, medical malpractice. All these things are hanging over their head, and it's not 9 to 5. They go home, it's still there.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Right.
Still there.
And certainly, that's huge, Nate, because as you think about what the entire world just went through for the last 2 years, right? When you talk to medical professionals, their perspective is so unique, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
You've got to know that you're walking in there watching people that these people are going to die every day. Or having to make a decision as to who gets the equipment, because that's your best. You've got to play. You're almost playing damn Russian roulette, right? With the ventilators and with people's lives. When you heard about, can you imagine walking into that every day? Can you imagine not being able to go home to your family and having to sleep in the garage because whatever this thing is that this country hadn't defined, I can't risk taking it in there to my babies, to my spouse, to my elderly parent or loved one that's in the home. Like, we thought it was hard being disconnected. Imagine only being able to connect to sick people and not being able to get any of that back that you've left in that hospital on those 24-hour shifts for how many days. We heard about the bodies that were just stacked. Can you imagine if we saw it on TV or the images on social media, and I'm getting chills even saying it, as we think about how they were disposing and creating these mass graves from hospitals because they couldn't even hold all of these dead people. Imagine walking past that to get to your job. You're going in there to add to that pile today.
That's like in New York with the
That's
tractor
heavy.
trailers. They was putting the bodies in the tractor trailers.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Yes,
cooling
exactly.
trailers.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
heavy. That's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah,
But heart
structure and
goes out
infrastructure.
to, shout outs to, we cannot thank our medical professionals in any role that, whether you have to talk through it, whether you're on that front line in there, whatever that looks like. Those people, those medical professionals, they get paid. Teachers, or the other one, those should be, that's a special calling. That is a very special calling.
Absolutely.
Well, it is. Yeah, Coach
Okay.
Liddell, you definitely speak on this because I'm sure you've talked to many people in that field.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think it's important that the hospital boards and those directors that manage the things that go on inside the hospital, those doctors and nurses and aides that are there and were there during that time and are still there because now we're short staffed
Right.
in all those spaces, that they provide some support within the hospital for those doctors, nurses, and aides, that if they need to take a time out, don't just go, because they'll go in a back room. I know many nurses, they'll just go in a back room, empty room with no patients, cry it out, and just go back on the floor. They should have someone in-house on staff where if they need to speak to someone, if they're having a challenge, that they could just go down the hall or on a different floor. And there's an open door policy that they could just walk in and get that support. That's something that is more than needed for them. And when you're helping someone, and like Renee mentioned, those long shifts, they're thinking about sleep. So all they're doing is sleeping and then getting back up to help these people that they are so passionately driven to help. And it's sometimes you have to pull someone like that to the side if you have a loved one in that space, a friend or coworker, and just check in with them like, are you okay? Because you
Yeah.
don't seem okay. Do you need, let me take something over for you while you get 20 minutes. Go outside, get some fresh air, get grounded, grounding, taking your shoes off, walking on the grass or whatever. If you can take those 15 to 20 minutes, and this is obviously not just for practitioners, this is for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is for everyone.
Yeah.
Take that 15 minutes, and get outside, catch some of those sun rays. It recharges you like natural energy. And being listening to the birds and just away from a phone or laptop. It's like take that time. But I do encourage hospitals and healthcare facilities to provide a space
Mm-hmm.
for these people. They
Mm-hmm.
are suffering, they are struggling, and
Tremendously.
still in their heart of hearts, they're going to get up every day, even with all that suffering and struggling, and go do this job because they're like, no, these people need me, but we need you too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
create that space for them so that they have something outside of themselves. Because some
Huge.
of them are strong minded. They're like, I'm okay, I'll be fine, and they're at night, they're going through it when they get home. So
Well,
that
there's
would be,
one positive there, Coach Liddell, that President Biden actually signed a bill last March, the Dr. Lauren Bren Healthcare Provider Protection Act, which is going to establish grants to promote studies to improve mental health of healthcare providers because of these things. And they've also, and we will put this up on our pages today, they have a physician support line now.
oh, I love
Wow.
it. I'm
And
so
we'll do
glad to
that
hear that.
number.
Yeah.
It's free and confidential hotline, connects physicians to psychiatric doctors from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern, 7 days a week.
Wow.
We're
That's
not where we
beautiful.
need to be, but it's a start.
It is
That
certainly
is
a start.
that is
It
great
is
news.
certainly a
That's
start.
tremendous.
Yeah.
Very tremendous.
Like y'all were saying, who do they go to? Because, like you were saying, if you're going into the doctor, you're going to the hospital and you're seeing those lines of people during the pandemic, you start feeling hopeless. How am I going to be able to help this person today? I'm just going to add to that number. Then I've got to tell the family that it compiles. It's a lot. It's got to be a lot.
Oh,
God
gosh.
bless the people in NICU, but I know I couldn't do that.
Hmm.
We need those people. That can't be me, unfortunately.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So,
I can say just from experience of just going into a hospital and being in one for a week, and just trusting people with your life. That is tough, and your life is on the line. And it's so my heart goes out to them. They always deserve a smile. They always deserve the respect of when they come in, but they can be frustrated too. And you never, I'm not the type of person that want to go back and complain. I may say a comment, but for the most part, you never know what somebody is going through from one moment to the next. A phone call or text can throw your whole day off. So for everyone that has been in that circumstance, just go back to what Coach Linnell said. You pause, you take a moment, you reflect, you look at it again. Don't take it that way. See if there's a way that you can redirect it in a better way. So Coach Linnell, thank you for that. I'm gonna take that one a long way with me.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, it saves you from depleting yourself of that energy you need for the other things you're trying to get accomplished in the moment. And sometimes you deplete yourself in a moment, and the context that the person was sending the message in was not even what you assumed it was. So then it was a waste of energy at the end of the day. So I encourage everyone to do that. And, for people who are dealing with like anger in the moment, extreme anger, I'm a meditation and healing coach as well as life coach. And meditation has saved me from exploding. And over time, it helped remove the explosions all the way around. These tools really do work, but it takes practice and time. And so, for those who aren't meditating yet, um, 10 deep breaths, like really taking that air where your chest rises and then blow it all the way out. And that actually is a way to clear your energy in the moment. You take in, you read something, you hear something, you have a discussion, you see something. Stop, close your eyes, take 10 deep breaths, not count the 10. Counting to 10 is not it. 10 deep breaths. Your shoulders are going to relax. Everything's going to relax down because that's a natural form of moving the energy out of your body and not allowing it to be stuck.
Let me just say, Linnell is dropping some heat today.
Man, hey,
I'm
the
listening
recording
and
from 54
she doesn't know her.
seconds.
Look, her phone is gonna blow up when we get off of
Right.
here because
Oh,
I
yeah.
have something I want to plug her into. Y'all, when she said something, please don't overlook taking off your shoes and letting your feet touch the earth. We have gotten so cultured and modernized that, oh, the ground is dirty, don't walk around with your shoes on. I'm not saying go step on any rusty nails, but trust me, there is so much power in taking off your shoes and feeling the earth under your feet.
Oh, yeah.
It's
right.
huge. It's
Connecting to
huge.
nature. We're from
Yes.
nature. We're literally all the elements. So earth is dirt is earth, which is a piece of how we were even created. So all it does is it grounds you. You know, it brings you back present. And that's a very powerful thing. I mean, I encourage everyone. Be careful where you're walking, but
Right.
do it.
Right.
Exactly.
I love that barefoot feeling outside in the lawn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know, we used to do it. When we got shipped off, used to tease my mom. She shipped us off to rural Tennessee, but we could walk around with no shoes on. You know what I mean? And you think about how you didn't have a care in the world, and you see now kids that are caught up in everything. Well, we weren't playing video games. Grandmommy wasn't getting cable way out in the country. So we had to stay connected, like you said, to the earth. So we're, picking those tomatoes that are warmed by the sun with the salt shaker and the hose on the back porch. All of those things, right? That we didn't realize just how well we were taking care of ourselves then, and how we have, as we've modernized and developed, we've actually made not taking your care of yourself a status symbol. How backwards is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How backwards is that?
That's part of the programming.
Yeah.
The internet, the social media, it's part of what the Matrix. If you haven't seen the Matrix, go watch it and watch it over and over again.
Right.
Because that truly is what they've done. They pulled
That
us out of
message.
it's that real life versus reality. And people think reality is real life and those 60-second reels and those quick stories.
Right.
That's not anyone's full life. And please don't try to mirror that because it's not real for them.
Right. You won't be able to. You're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Protect yourself or you wreck yourself. Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to live in the now right now and be real with ourselves. And for the circumstances that we live with, one thing I always say to people is that God set us a set of cards that we play, and we have to play that hand. We have to play it out. We don't have to throw that hand. I think in poker, you can have a very, very bad hand and you can bluff your way into winning. So, right. That's one thing that I want to say in closing out, that if you play your hand to win, you can win, even if you got a bad hand. Sometimes having a little bit of patience, having a little bit of poise, and then believing in yourself will take you a long, long way. And I think that, what I've learned from this discussion from everybody from Coach Linnell, just talking about create a treatment program, create a program for yourself where you go and you get it. I think one of the things that I learned from Linnell is that you do have to know that there is energy in this world, and it's energy always around you, and you can come in contact with negative energy. It can be transferred by one person's conversation on your heart and your spirit. So just know to understand that there is a larger order that everyone still has to seek and pursue. That's why they have to seek a professional who will apply the aspect of their learning to their lives, so that way that they can clear their fields and clear and give clarity to their thoughts, so that they can lead and have decisions that are in their best interest. That is what's going to get you past those dark moments. And thank you, Coach Linnell, for that. Renee, even you talking about just taking the moments of relaxing, sit back and do something that you can become one with. And that is so important, to have time for yourself to do something that's like a recreation. That's why they call it recreational use.
Yeah.
Something that you can enjoy and indulge in within the moment. So those things are definitely important. And then when you have somebody that you're really close with and you tackle it, man, I tell you, me and Nate be at it every day trying to figure it out and go, the next step, so we can go that next mile and continue to go and grow. And that's how you do it. You have people that you can rely on and support, but you also got to care not only about yourself, but you got to care about other people. You have to be selfless. So that way,
For sure.
way you'll have more people that can be there for you and be supportive of you. So being selfish may not totally be the way all the time. You do have to think about yourself. You do got to treat yourself, but being able to help others, and that's what we're trying to do in this outlet and forum, is to be able to help others in those hard, dark moments, as they deal with it from one day to the next.
No, absolutely. And find what it is that helps you, whether it be getting lost in music. Music might be your escape. Getting out, taking a walk in nature, whatever it is, because somebody made a very poignant thing to me a couple of years ago of a gentleman who had lost his job. And now he felt like his self-worth, because he didn't have that money, he didn't have that job, he didn't have those things. Now his self-worth felt selfless because he had less and he didn't. But in that moment, that's how he felt.
Wow.
Just because you're in a bad circumstance doesn't mean you don't have value. You do. You have value to many of people, even if you don't see it. But find those people who help build you up, not tear you down.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those type of situations, like you mentioned, Nate, are temporary.
Absolutely.
And if you live in your temporary situation, it becomes permanent. But if you understand that it's temporary and you can use your imagination, that visual, feeling, seeing, hearing yourself in a new space, that's going to manifest for you. But
Absolutely.
if you live in that temporary situation that doesn't look good, that's what's going to remain. That's how powerful we are. That's a whole nother episode, y'all. But let me tell you, we got some power in ourselves. I'm just gonna tell y'all. Remember when you were kids and you use your imagination, you could be anywhere you wanted to be. Adults need to get back to that, because that's where the actual power lies.
Power is, yeah.
Absolutely, they do. Look at sports, for example. Nobody's going to win every game, every at bat, every shot. But what you compile through the season is what brings that championship. It's not a day, it's not a week, it's not a month. It's the collection. There's going to be ups and downs, and we're going to have that ourselves as well.
That's the journey of life.
Absolutely.
It is.
We still trying to figure it out every day.
Yeah.
Hey,
just what we thought we knew.
Hey, that's the balance and the ebbs and flows. It's never gonna not be. So
That's
when you're in the flow, make sure you're always being grateful. And when you're in the ebbs, be grateful too, because that's your time to prepare for when the flow is coming.
No, absolutely it is.
That's huge. That's huge.
Renee, you got some final thoughts where they can reach you and your word of the day?
The word of the day in honor of Coach Linnell is grounded. Grounded is the word of the day. For those of you all who know, if you DM me the word of the day, I give you a discount on our Canabody Designs apparel, which is created just to encourage mainstream conversations just about this. And so very, very happy to announce that Canabody Designs will be a sponsor at the Can of Shame events and activities that are coming up around the 1st of October. We'll get an opportunity, I know, to talk more about that in the weeks to come. And we are available online, internet, and at Canabody Designs. CanaBodyDesigns.com is our website. And for those of you all in the Atlanta area, we are available exclusively at Hidden Treasure Smoke Shop right there at Whitehall in the Castleberry Hills area. So that's it. That's all. Good show, guys.
Sam, your final thoughts, and where can they find and connect with you?
Final thoughts. I gotta definitely go with what Renee just said, grounded. I started off talking about a good foundation. It's just so important to be able to stand strong on your own 2 feet, 10 toes down. You want to maintain that balance. Seek it, learn from others, look at others. Don't try to be someone else that you're not. Just be you, because you will find what your calling is. If you don't know, you'll find out just by taking another moment, taking another breath, and doing it one day at a time. That's something that I learned from conversation with Nate. Just you take it one day, you live that day, and we'll figure it out tomorrow.
One day.
And and if you take that mindset, and we'll see tomorrow. Then you'll go one day at a time, and you'll get to the next day, and you'll see tomorrow. You know, so that's where I'm at with that. And you can follow me, Big Boy Sam with 2 M's. I think I posted twice in the last 2 months, but hey, I'm still working at it.
Right. Like you were saying, keep in mind, you're hiking a mountain. You don't realize how far you've come till you're at that peak. You don't see it as you take that step all the way to the top. You see it when you're up there. And then you see how you got there, what was accomplished by getting there. And the view is going to be 100 times better than it started. I promise you.
Especially when you're on top. And it gets tougher as you ascend to the top. It gets tougher. It doesn't get easier.
That air thins out, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
That air thins out. Yeah.
Thins out and get colder. And get colder.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
The whole atmosphere changes.
Everything, right?
And for you, Coach Linnell, what about you? Where can they find you, connect with you, and your closing thoughts?
So my closing thoughts are going to go to walking by faith and not by sight. Things sometimes look crazy right in front of you, but if you keep the faith, just know that in the background, when people say the background, that's the spiritual world, you are being supported to get to where you want to be. So keep that faith over fear. You can't live in both places at the same time. So walk in that faith and not what you see, and everything that you're dreaming of will come to be. And you can reach me at Coach_Linnell on Instagram, Coach Linnell on Twitter. My website is CoachLinnell.com. So please reach out. I do specialize in my one-on-one sessions, but looking to do some group sessions in the future. So it was a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being here. Awesome.
Absolutely. For everybody listening, you can always go back and revisit this and other broadcasts, whether it be through all of our different platforms, including YouTube. If you know someone, have them watch it with you. We're going to post the prevention hotline number and the one for the physicians as well. Just lift everybody up. Realize everybody's going through something. Let's try to, like we said, take a moment and stop before we react, because we don't want that reaction of that last moment to be something that's going to stick to us from here on.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody have a blessed week. Myself, you can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at DJNQ75. Next week, we'll have OT back again. We look forward to seeing you all. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Blessings. Everybody have a safe week, and look forward to next time.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.